Welcome to the Phase Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Terrell Humphrey, and welcome to an episode of Phase Knowledge Podcast. I produce over 893 podcast episodes, and throughout this journey, I've learned more about who I'm serving, the problem I'm solving, and the business that I'm looking to establish. One thing that I've learned is that when you are along the journey, you have to understand what you're doing. When you understand what you're doing, you understand why you're doing it. So in this video, we're going to talk about why struggle creates clarity. And if it's your first time here, make sure you got your pen, make sure you got your notebook. We're going to talk heavy on this topic because it's so critical, it's so important to understand that you have to struggle first before you get that clarity. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and get into it. I got my pen, got my notebook. We get into it today. What's going on, Hunter? What's going on, Hunter? I appreciate you for joining in. All right, so first thing first, point number one, struggling is not bad. Now, I'm not saying struggling is the end all be all, but when you're first getting into the craft, the skill that you would like to do, you're going to struggle to figure out. I give you a prime example. I literally, like this morning, I was like, man, I was doing some research, but I couldn't find the exact title. And I'm like, man, what was that title? What was that title? What was the research? What was the research? It wasn't the fact that I couldn't remember the title, research, and what I was looking for. It was more so that I was struggling to find it. I was struggling to locate it. I was struggling to discover it. What I learned during this time, struggling is not bad. You have to struggle first before you gain that clarity. Struggle creates that clarity because you are learning what you are doing. Okay, dang, Hunter, you on both of them? What's going on, Hunter? That's crazy. That's funny. All right, so struggling is not bad. Struggling is not bad because you are, let's bring it down right here. You are learning what to do. As you learn what to do, you are understanding there's a lot of things that you don't know. For instance, when I started my podcast a half a decade ago, I started my podcast without even knowing anything about it, without knowing anything about editing, without knowing anything about communication, without knowing anything about having confidence on camera. Throughout that journey, I've learned that you are learning what you're doing, but you have to struggle first. I literally remember giving my first presentation. My first presentation in public, it had maybe, let's say, around 10 to 15 people. And when I got on stage to start speaking, I literally forgot what I wanted to say. I wanted to say this joke. I wanted to say this line when I got on stage, and it didn't come out how I thought it was gonna come out. What happened is that when I got on stage, I couldn't get the words out. I couldn't get the expression out. I couldn't even say what I wanted to say. So I had to struggle in the beginning. And then as I started to come on, I'm like, hey man, hold on. Can I start over? They was like, yeah, go ahead, start over. I took a deep breath, gathered my thoughts, and I communicated. And I talked about what I was going to speak about. Nonetheless, that struggle helped me gain the clarity. That struggle helped me understand what I was going to say. That struggle was the stepping stone. You see, first thing first is that you have to be willing to make yourself uncomfortable. As you are uncomfortable, you start to do things that will challenge you. Just because you're struggling doesn't mean it's bad. What it means is that you're being challenged. When you are challenged, you are learning what to do. When you are challenged, you are learning how to do it. When you are challenged, you are learning why to do it. You see, if I would have let that one moment stop me from understanding how to present, how to get on stage, how to deliver us a presentation, I would have stopped a long time ago. But since I didn't stop, you literally have to struggle to get to where you would like to be. You see, struggling is starting. Struggling is figuring it out. Struggling is discovering what you are doing. I tell you this, hold on. As you struggle, guess what? This person right here is kind of like in a box. The box that you're in is that you are trying something new. The new is a struggle. The new is a challenge. The new is overwhelming because you literally have to struggle to figure out if it's working or if it's not working and why it's not working, if it is working. You see, it's not the fact that it's bad. It's more so you have to understand why you are doing a particular skill. Podcasting helps me grow an audience. Podcasting helps me grow a brand. Podcasting helps me grow an impact. So the reasoning behind me doing podcasting every day is because I want to grow my brand so I can make a bigger impact. So that way, the impact that I'm making, I'm able, what's going on, darling? I'm able to make an impact and help others become the best version of themselves. If I can do it, you can do it as well. But first, you have to see someone that struggle. You see, struggle is someone that's figuring it out. Struggle is someone that's putting themselves on a public platform to fail publicly. Struggle is identifying that when I did a 90-day challenge a couple times ago, I'm on my 7th challenge. When I did it 6 challenges ago, I was literally struggling to figure it out. Then when I start to figure it out, it's like, hey, this is what I've done to figure out the struggle. You see, struggle creates clarity because it forces you to learn what you are doing. You see, if you're not learning what you're doing, you're not struggling. Okay, hold on. If you're not learning what you are doing, you're not struggling. That means it's too easy. That means it's too comfortable. That means that you're not challenging yourself. I'll tell you this right now. Hold on. See, you got a couch right here. However you draw a couch, does it say this is a bean bag? Bean bag. And this bean bag, as soon as you sit down, you feel comfortable. You feel relaxed. You feel like the weight is off your shoulders. You see, this bean bag had to struggle first before it got developed. The bean bag is the comfort. But what about the trials and tribulations that it took for this bean bag to be developed? Hold on. Let me come back to the screen. Hold on. What about the struggle that the beanbag had to go through in order for it to be developed, the ideal, and when it put together, now you have something. But before you get the ideal, the product, you have to struggle. You see, struggle forces you to challenge yourself. Struggle forces you to challenge your thoughts. Struggle forces you to challenge, does this make sense? What happens is that you understand what you're doing. What happens is you understand why you're doing it. What happens is that you understand you're not struggling. In fact, you're learning what you are doing. Hold on. You are learning what you are doing because what you are doing is something new. Okay, hold on. Let me flip the page. You know what I mean? Let me flip the page. The struggle. There we go. Struggle comes from trying. I remember when I was growing up in a single parent household, my mama who raised 3 boys by herself, she literally, like, whenever she told us to do something, it wasn't her way. It wasn't done her exact way. So she would get upset at us, and mainly me. Can't speak for my other 2 brothers, but she would get upset at me and say, son, it's common sense. I was young back in the day. I didn't argue with anything. I'm like, how's that common sense? Like, I never understood how that was common sense. Then as I get older, as I get more educated, more knowledgeable, it's like, wait, hold on. How's that common sense? Because my mama been doing it her whole eternal life, but I just started to do it. So I need to struggle to figure it out. I need to struggle to understand it. I need to struggle so I can develop some type of common sense. You see, common sense is not common because it's not commonly practiced. Hold on. Let me drink some water on that one. Hold on. It's not common sense. It's common practice. In fact, when I'm in school for business management, and one of the classes that I had, they talked about how common sense is not common. You have to gain the knowledge for the sense to be knowledgeable. Hold on. For the sense to be common. Like, it blew my mind that I actually had to learn that. I knew that, but when it got explained in a book format and had to take a test around, I was like, oh, so I'm not crazy. But I do have to struggle to figure it out. You see, you can't solve the person's problem without the person going through the struggle. It's the struggle that pays the difference. It's the struggle that strengthens somebody. It's the struggle that gives you knowledge. You can't gain the knowledge if you don't struggle. Hold on. You can't gain the knowledge if you're not willing to struggle. You see, sometimes as I start working with other people and start training different people in the podcast production business, I know they're going to struggle. I just know it because I've been doing podcasting for half a decade, 893 podcast episodes. I have a format, I have a system, I have a way of doing it. It's not common sense, because if it was common sense, everybody would be able to do it. It's a common practice for me, but when someone come into my world or my team, it's not common sense. It's not common practice. It's not commonly understood. What happens is that you have to struggle to figure it out. If I try to solve your struggle, you're missing the lesson. If I try to solve your struggle, the struggle that you're looking for, you are going to miss the lesson. You see, struggle creates clarity because it teaches you what you are doing. It's not common sense. It develops into common practice. The more you practice, the more you get better. Shout out to Allen Iverson. I'm gonna do an interview with him one day, and that famous interview that he was talking about. He said, "We're talking about practice." You see, Allen Iverson was one of the best ball handlers, one of the best basketball players there ever was. But I tell you this, how much practice did he have to put into his craft in order for it to become common practice? You see, if everybody put the time into what he did, if everybody had his skills, if everybody had his drive, they would move like Allen Iverson. But since everyone does it, it's not common sense, it's common practice. When you struggle, you have to learn how to practice consistently. When you struggle, you have to learn what you are doing. When you struggle, you have to give yourself time to figure it out. When you give yourself time, that struggle, what I say, struggle came from trying. When you're trying, you start to learn how to practice. Yes, we're talking about practice. See, I've been wanting to play the piano for a long time. But I tell you this, I haven't put the time into it because I haven't been practicing and I haven't made the time for it. Why? It's not common practice. It's not common sense. It's not even practice. So I have to struggle to figure out how to play the keys, how to know the keys. You see, I know a little bit some, but I should know more. The reason why I don't know more because it's not commonly practiced. Hold on. You see, when it's commonly practiced, you can do it without thinking. You still have to put things together, but the things that you're putting together is not new information. So if I wanted to play the piano and you got the keys right here, keys right there, keys right there, keys right there. In fact, I just learned that the black is called I think it's called sharp or something like that. And the white is called the flat, if I'm not mistaken. You see, the information that I've learned so far, I don't even know if that's correct. You see, the confidence in playing the piano is not there because I haven't put the time into it. I haven't commonly practiced how to press the keys, how to remember the notes, how to remember the sound. But I tell you this, without the struggle, doesn't come to clarity. Without the clarity, doesn't come to confidence. I have to put the time into my craft. Hold on, let me come back to the screen. I have to put the time into my craft to learn what I'm doing. Hold on. Struggle creates clarity because it forces you what you're doing. It forces you to know what you're doing. It forces you to learn what you're doing. And it forces you to ask questions in regards to the things that you don't know. Okay, hold on. Struggle creates clarity because you have to start from some point. I remember when I was learning how to work out, and I got introduced to the first workout machine that I had to get onto, and it was like the whatever it is called. I to this day I still don't know what it's called, but I understand that I had to struggle to get there. Whatever this is called, you're working your shoulders. I know what is working, but I don't know what it's called. So when the trainer, he was a trainer. He was a bodybuilder. He used to work out a lot. He literally sat me down. He raised the leg thing up and put it to where it like went over my knees. As it went over my knees, he told me to grab the bar. As I grabbed the bar, I had to literally pull it down. But see, if you're not engaging your back, if you're not engaging your muscle, you're not working out the right muscle. You're working out the wrong muscle. And what that taught me during that time is that I had to struggle to figure it out. He said, if you want to get strong, start light. If you can get your technique down, you will be able to lift heavy. You see, before you get to heavy, you got to start with light. You have to struggle to figure out your form so your form can be consistent. Your form protects you. Your form works out the muscle that it needs to work. Your form is the starting point of your growth. You have to struggle to gain the clarity, because the clarity comes from struggling. The clarity comes from learning. The clarity comes from you trying to do something. You see, the first one that we talked about is that struggling is not bad because you're learning what to do. You have to learn what you are doing. In order for you to learn what you are doing, you have to struggle with it first. When you struggle with what you're doing, you're understanding that you're learning how to do it more effectively. Okay, hold on. You see, podcasting didn't come as natural. But as I struggled, I learned. As I failed, I grew. As I learned, I gained the clarity. So now, as I learn from other people, so now as I learn from other podcasts, so now as I learn from other business owners, it's not the fact that they are they have common sense in business. Well, their common knowledge had to be practiced. Once it's practiced, it can be practically routine. Like it can be in a routine that's consistently practiced. Before you get to that routine, you're gonna have to struggle. When you struggle, you are trying to figure it out. Just because you're struggling doesn't mean you don't have common sense. What it means is you're developing the common practice. All right. So what we just went over right quick is that struggling is not bad. You're learning what to do. Then the next point that we are going to hit upon, right? This one is the most critical one, right? This one is to create a daily struggle. Struggle. You see, hold on. It goes back to the statement that I said about practice. You see, in order for it to be common sense, it has to be practiced every single day. You see, when you create a routine around your struggle, you are learning how to get better. You see, I created a routine around a podcast, and in fact, the last couple of 90-day challenges that I've completed or that I attempted, I stopped in the middle of it because I was trying to figure out what I was doing. As I was trying to figure out what I was doing, I was struggling to figure it out. As I was struggling to figure it out, I created a routine, a practice, a daily habit around me struggling. I would literally post it across online, and I remember on TikTok, somebody was like, bro, you only made $217 in 90 days. He was like, you could have worked at McDonald's and got paid more. And I was like, you're absolutely right. But I tell you this, working at McDonald's wouldn't have taught me what I've learned over the last 90-day challenges. What I was learning was how to become a better business owner. What I was learning was how to identify the problem I was solving. What I was learning is how much to charge. You see, you can't learn that when you're working at McDonald's because you're working for a company that's already established. You see, when you have your own business and you're going from zero to something, it's going to be a struggle. Okay, it's going to be a struggle because you have to develop the product. You have to develop your sales. You have to develop your marketing. You see, the podcast production wasn't always a podcast production. In fact, I started in social media. The first business I did was around social media, but then I started telling people what my business model was, and they was like, well, so what does that consist of? So what do you do? So how do you help people? How do you make money? And I was like, great question. Because I don't know. I can't answer that question because I don't know how to answer that question. So over time, I had to struggle to figure out my business. I had to struggle to figure out the problem I was solving. I had to struggle to figure out what I can even charge. You see, over the years, as I'm doing another 90-day challenge for my 7th time, this one is completely different because I have more clarity. But before the clarity, I had to struggle to get to the clarity. But as I was struggling, I was building a routine. As I was struggling, I was showing up daily. As I was struggling, I was showing up consistently. Daily wasn't I started daily, then I was like, man, I'm not figuring it out. But when you create a daily struggle, you are practicing more. Practicing more. As you practice more, you learn more. As you learn more, you develop more. As you develop more, you understand you're developing common practice. It ain't practice if it's not common. It ain't practice if it's not daily. It's not practice if you're not focusing on it. You see, the struggle forces you to grow. The podcast production business forces me to grow the podcast production, because if I can grow Phase Knowledge Podcast to, let's say, 1 million subscribers, and then I continue to grow, continue to develop, continue to do all these different things, it's not the fact that I'm not growing. It's more so that I'm commonly growing based off the routine that I've established. Why this matters? Because the more you practice, the more results you have. And what this means is this. Okay. When I wrote Master Your Mind, 10 Tips to Shift Your Mindset, I wrote this book because I learned 10 tips to shift my mindset. I went through a hard divorce, and the separation taught me something that I wasn't expecting. It taught me more about myself. It taught me how to take accountability. It taught me how to recognize the good that I did in addition to the bad. It's not the fact that that book is not good. It's more so it's the lessons that I've learned through my struggle. You see, you have to struggle to gain the clarity, but before you get to clarity, you got to struggle. Okay, hold on. When you're struggling, you're figuring it out. When you're struggling, you're discovering yourself. When you're struggling, you're figuring out the problem that you're solving. You see, that book taught me something. I told my story. The story that I told in that book was my story. I had to struggle to put my story together. So I worked with the publisher. Shout out to Noah Publishing House. And as I worked with them, I learned how to put my story together. You see, it was a struggle to put my story together, yet I've learned how to put my story together. You see, that struggle helped me grow. That struggle helped me learn. That struggle helped me understand that I was building something. You see, the thing that I was building that I didn't know I was building from the struggle was the confidence within myself, was the belief within myself, was the work that I had to do to gain that clarity that I was looking for. Hold on. You see, the struggle is what creates the clarity, because you have to learn what the struggle is. Okay? That struggle is the unspoken language that a lot of people won't speak about. But when you go through the struggle, guess what? You're not the only one experiencing that moment. It might feel like it. There's a picture that I did on one of my first presentations that I did in person. The second one that I did was actually pretty good. And you see, you got this road right here, right? And you got like a path that's leading to the right. You got a path that's leading to the left. But in the middle of it, you got people who are walking along the path. They are walking. Then you got some that come this way. In fact, you got majority of people who come this way. But then you got this one person right here. This right here is a form of isolation. And in this isolation, you have to learn more about yourself. You see, you have to struggle to get back with the crowd. But yet when you get with the crowd, it's a new crowd. It's a new set of people. It's a new set of understanding. You see, it might feel lonely at first, but as it's lonely in the beginning, eventually it will start to make sense. Because now, as As I started to struggle and figure out how to overcome the struggle, other people start coming to me and saying, man, I'm dealing with the same problem. Man, I'm struggling the same exact way. Man, I thought I was the only one. But in reality, I was the one speaking about it, and the other ones was able to raise their hand and say, I'm experiencing the same exact thing. Hold on. Let me come back to the screen. You see, the isolation forces you to struggle. But I'll tell you what, before I wrote Mastermind 10 Tips to Shift Your Mindset, I literally recorded so many different videos within a short span of time, and it blew my mind based off the amount of responses that I was receiving. I remember recording 7 videos in one day, having 7 different shirts to put on so the videos look different based upon the shirt that I wore. As I created 7 different videos at one time, I literally was like, man, all right, so this video is gonna be about da. This video, hold on, let me take my shirt off, put another one on, and then do another video. All right, let me change the location. I go change the location, put another shirt on, take the one that I had on, take the one that I had on, and then put another one on, and then now I have another shirt on, but I'm now in a different location, recording the video and expressing what I want to talk about. Then I go to another location with another shirt on, record another video, and I did that for 7 different times. What did they tell me? I had to practice how to be confident. I had to practice how to record myself. I had to practice how to identify something and speak about the thing that I want to speak about, then go to a different location. What is this doing? It's helping you struggle. It's helping you learn. It's helping you grow. You see, I had to learn how to struggle so that way I can gain the clarity today. That clarity only comes from me putting myself out there. You see, the path might feel lonely. It might feel lonely. But the more you struggle, the more you grow. The more you struggle, the more you learn. The more you struggle, the more you understand what you are doing. But before you understand what you are doing, you gotta understand that there's a reason behind it. Struggling is not bad. Struggling is to help you grow. You see, I grew up in a single parent household, and my mama, she raised 3 boys by herself, and I tell you, she did a phenomenal job. Yet a boy has to learn from a man if he want to become a man. And so when I wanted to learn from a man, she put us in different programs who had me. Shout out to OK program. Went there from the 6th grade all the way up to the 12th grade. I actually spoke with him this past weekend. And it's the fact that he was there to show us what a man looked like. Shout out to Sergeant Davis. And when I started to understand, like, hold on, there's something different. There's something here. What's here is growth. What's here is a new understanding. What's here is common knowledge. You see, everything that might seem common sense is not commonly practiced. That's why my mom be like, it's common sense. I'm like, how? How is that common sense? Now I ask questions. I ask a lot of questions. And I ask, how is that common sense? If you're writing a paper and I never wrote a paper before, how is that common sense? It's the way people do certain tasks that makes it common sense. You're practicing daily. You have a routine around it. You do it every single day. Hold on. It might feel lonely. Let me come back to the screen. It might feel lonely, but that doesn't mean you are doing something bad. What it means is that you are developing. What it means is that you are learning. What it means is that you are struggling. In fact, I want to look up the definition of struggle right quick. Hold on, before I get to the last point, because that I want to look that up right quick. Hold on. Struggle definition. All right, make forceful or violent efforts to get free or of restraint of or constriction. Sometimes I hate looking stuff up because the words in the definition, you gotta look the words up too. All right, so struggle definition is simple. Okay, a struggle is a long, hard effort to do, achieve, or survive something difficult. You gotta survive something difficult to learn what you are doing. When I published the book Mastering Mind 10 Tips to Shift Your Mindset, I had to struggle to find my confidence. I had to struggle to find myself. I had to struggle to find my passion. Last 2 points that we just talked about before we get to the third one is that struggling is not bad. Struggling is what you are learning what to do. Next point that we just went over is that you have to create a daily struggle. You have to learn every single day. This learning turns into struggle, or the struggle turns into learning because you're understanding what you're doing. Lastly, the last thing that we are going to talk about, okay? This is the most critical thing there is. Get around. Oh, hold on. I gotta rewrite that. Hold on. Get around a different thought process. And no, I'm gonna keep it simple. Get around a community. Get around. I'm just gonna rewrite that. Hold on. I'm gonna rewrite that. Get around a community. Get around a community. Why? Because I used the example that I used earlier, right? You got two paths. One is going to the right, one is going to the left. You got people in the middle. People in the middle. People in the middle. People over here. People over here. People over here. Then you got yourself over here, right? This person can literally go back into the path that they would like to go into. These are communities. The communities that you get around will help you turn your struggle into knowledge. The communities that you get around will help you turn your struggle into questions. The community that you get around will help you turn your struggle into a practice. Because some of them have overcame what you are looking to accomplish. What this did for me, it gave me a different perspective. The perspective that it gave me was this. It's okay to be alone. It's okay to be by yourself. There's a book called Single on Purpose. Shout out to that book. That book gave me like a different level of like understanding. It's okay to be by yourself. On the contrary, it gets to a point where being by yourself is so lonely. Well, being by yourself is so overwhelming. Well, being by yourself, you only have the thoughts to listen to from yourself. Whereas when you get around a new community, or when you get around a community that think differently from you in your current state of mind, you see potential. You see others that's doing better, and you start to like move towards the better. You start to grow towards the better. But it's the community that helps you grow faster. Yet before you grow, you have to learn to be by yourself. Hold on. As you learn how to be by yourself, check this out. You're getting around the people with the same goals, desires, and dreams. Beforehand, sometimes the goals, dreams, and desires won't be aligned. But when you get around a new environment, a new community, a new city, a new place, a new anything, you start to see and hear things differently. I remember I went to this networking event in 2021. And in this networking event, it was a real estate networking event. It was a free event that I went to. These people over here had a community. Their community consisted of a lot of people who just want to better for each other, right? And that was different. That was different because this networking. Hold on. Combine the words into one. Can't even see both of them. Hold on. All right. Community. The networking taught me about net worth. Now, there's a saying that goes around, this is not commonly practiced, it's not commonly said. But this is the first time I've said it today, so I'm going to say it. Your network is your net worth. It was so confusing to me. Like, what does that even mean? How is your network your net worth? When you get around people that think differently, what they are doing starts to help you think differently. It's not the fact that you don't know, it's not the fact that you don't know people. It's just that you don't know the right people who are doing things. Your net worth are the people that's doing things. Your net worth, I think I said it right. Your net worth are the people who are doing things. Your network is the people that you get around more often. You never know who you're going to meet, but when you get around a new environment, you're bound to meet someone that's going to change your life. Over my entire life, I've been around different people who have taught me something. Excuse me. Who has taught me something. Like growing up, I didn't know it's called community. Playing a football team, going to OK program. Shout out Little Rock Central High School. Shout out OK program. All these different programs. I didn't know it was called community. When I got older, went to different places, I started to hear the word community often. The community was something that helped me build my confidence back up. Because during that time, I was missing a tooth. I got an implant now. And when I was missing a tooth, I still was showing up, but I wasn't as confident because obviously I'm like missing a tooth right in the front of my mouth. Nonetheless, I still was showing up. I still was learning. I still was taking notes. To this day, I take notes and I learn in everything that I do. You never know the information that you're going to learn, but for me, since I'm a visual, I think I'm a visual learner. Like I see things, I have to see things for me to understand. And in addition to that, I can hear things as well. So I don't know what type of learner I mean. I just know I just learn, okay? As I start to really understand the importance of community, I got around different communities. You see, struggling is just you figuring out what you are doing. Once you struggle what you're doing and you get around people who have already struggled with what you're currently dealing with, it gives you a sense of relief. It gives you a sense of belief. It gives you a sense of, hey man, I'll be all right. I will be, what's going on, Forever Diamond? I will be okay because I'm figuring it out. You see, struggle creates clarity because you are learning what you are doing. If you're not struggling, you're not learning. If you're not learning, you're not growing. If you're not growing, you don't understand what you're doing. Hold on. As I struggled to understand the podcast production business that we're doing, when we help real estate developers grow their brand through podcasting, I had to struggle to get through here. And yet I still figured it out every single day because I got in different communities. As I got in different communities, I start to learn something different. Common sense is not commonly practiced. Yet when it's practiced on a daily basis, you create a routine. You create a habit. You create a skill. You create knowledge. You create experience. It's not common sense. It's common practice. The more you practice, the more you understand. The more you struggle, the more you learn. So just to recap everything that we talked about today. So the name of this title was Struggling Creates Clarity. When you are struggling, you have to figure it out. Point number one is that struggling is not bad. You have to struggle because you have to learn what you're doing. Point number two was to create a daily struggle. The more you practice your struggle, eventually you develop a skill that will help you get better. But you have to be okay with struggling, with looking bad. What was the definition of struggle? Hold on. Definition of struggle was a struggle is a long, hard effort to do, achieve, or survive something difficult. You have to survive something difficult because you have to try. And the last point that we talked about was community. Get around a community. Get around a community. And when you get around a community, you're able to get a different perspective of how other people are thinking and why they think that way. And so this has been great. Let me know in the comments your biggest takeaway on why struggling creates clarity. I love to hear it. Love to engage with you in the comments. And lastly, don't be afraid to fail, because failure is knowledge, and you never know what that failure is going to turn into. I appreciate y'all. Click the video right here to watch more videos on how to personally develop in your business.